So sorry for the hiatus. I'm back from Toronto. Went to a Liddell toy convention, the Ontario Collector Con. So a lot of news happened over the weekend, and I was oh man, stuff that we need to talk about, stuff that we talked about in the past and now is more or less confirmed. So first thing we're going to be talking about this week, we're going to be talking about MPM movie masterpiece Jazz and Megatron.
Woo!
That we discussed about it when it was just a rumor, and we were speculating like what Megatron was going to be used, and we even kind of called it. We were like, oh man, it's probably going to be 2007 Megatron because it'll come, it'll be paired off with Jazz, and because one killed the other. We didn't realize how close they would actually do that.
Yeah, that was just a joke. You didn't have to make it real, man.
And then they kind of went the extra mile.
The cut hurts too deep.
Yeah, so we'll start with Jazz here. So obviously it's the 2007 Pontiac Solstice Jazz. Looks pretty good. For people that are wondering, and we kind of discussed this a little bit off air on the podcast, it is not using the Human Alliance mold that was originally used. It comes with a Sam Witwicky that's running with the Allspark. It's funny because we had a figure of a similar standy figure of Sam running with the Allspark that came with I think they were called the Battle Scenes box sets. I'm trying to see what they were called. I have all of them also. I just can't see it very well from here. So we have another one of those. We have Jazz's like gun weapon, which is nice. And then we have what we pretty much predicted. Like again, I don't want to say we predicted it, but I made the joke because the original deluxe Jazz mold kind of like it doesn't split in half, but it splits in half with a hinge. And I was kind of like, you could kind of reenact Jazz being killed. Well, they kind of took that the extra mile here.
Yeah.
Jazz actually can be split in half, and he comes with an extra accessory that has his spinal cord hanging out pretty much.
Yeah.
A la Mortal Kombat. And like it's very gruesome, if anything. Like the fact that, if you're including that, then you're pretty much implying that someone is going to display it like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're going to have, like I display my Jazz in Death of Jazz mode, But what's cool about this, though, aside from that, is, again, having his weapon is pretty cool because a lot of different versions of movie Jazz didn't come with his gun. They would come with a lot of other weird accessories. Here's this telescopic, like, lens thing that might be a baton but might be a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Here's this one that might be his gun but might not be his gun. What's also cool about it, there's one of the poses. I'll probably use that pose for the video of this segment. But it's one of the poses is kind of based off of his control art pose.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like the one where he's kind of like he's leaned to one side and he has his hand down. Like, that was kind of like that image of Jazz was like used for so much different posters and greeting cards, all that control art. So this is really cool. This is definitely the definitive Jazz. The only concern I have is I was reading the information here and it says that he's 6 inches. And I was like, wow, okay. I'm really hoping that's a really tall 6 inches. Because, I mean, to give an idea, 6 inches is more or less the original Jazz toy. Like the original 2007 Jazz toy was more or less 6 inches. So, maybe
I think the reason they do that is just so that the playability between the two could still work.
Oh, yeah.
And still fit inside the price point, basically.
Yeah. And so as it stands right now, so it's going to be 6 inches. Again, it comes with the extra stuff, which is a nice bonus. They didn't have to include Sam Witwicky, but it's there. Again, he was kind of protecting Sam as like Megatron was coming down into the scene.
Yeah.
He has a sliding visor, which goes over his face. That's pretty cool. The hands are articulated. Supposedly there's die cast on this too, which is also nice. Yeah, which is, again, that every movie Jazz up to this point has not had any die cast included, including the Studio Series. The shield weapon accessory, which also doubles as his gun, the spinal cord. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Supposedly, according to this also, if you press a button on his back, that's what makes Jazz split in two. So there's some kind of like feature that includes the splitting in half gimmick. But either way, this is pretty awesome. Retail price planned here at $89.99 American. And supposedly be available at the end of the year, November 1st, 2019. But so really cool. Yeah, really cool.
Near my birthday.
There you go, exactly. Wendell month. So That's pretty cool. But that's a really good one. That's a really good movie masterpiece. One that I felt was overdue in a sense.
Long overdue.
And I feel the same way, especially with the next one here, which is Megatron. Now, Megatron, as we predicted, it is the movie Megatron. And, man, without being able to swear, this thing's spectacular. This
phenomenal.
This actually, again, I was saying before in the past segment how that old toy really didn't age well, but I don't blame it because of the limitations it had to work with, of the design being made before the toy and the toy being made before design. All the fact that it's able to, it still has a little bit of the backpack kibble, but at the same time, the fact that it has to turn into a jet, it's about as good as it's going to get. There's still a little bit of the wing backpack kibble. If you kind of got rid of that backpack kibble, then it's perfectly the movie design. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, they did a very good job at, tucking it in. I love that it's able to still make the double-handed gun from that one scene where Megatron puts his two hands together to shoot Optimus and it makes a giant gun. Mm-hmm. It's cool that he's able to do the giant mace arm too. It's, and again, another one also, he has a removable chest piece, and you could put an Allspark in his chest to kill him. Pretty much.
You could put the Matrix of. Oh no, wait, that's not it. That's not it at all.
But it's really cool that it has that too. So same thing here.
One of the few Megatron toys that have his own chest gimmick. No.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Like that to have I'm gonna put this thing in there.
Yeah, you're probably right. Now that I think about it, I guess the only one I could think of is Transmetal 2. Megatron had the spark driver gimmick in the chest, like the Dragon Megatron. That's the closest I could think of.
But you couldn't you couldn't remove it though.
No, you couldn't remove it. Yeah. So according to its description, turns into a Cybertronian jet. Has a whole points of articulation. Comes with an Allspark cube accessory, which you could put into the chest. Fusion cannon, chain whip, die-cast detailing. Also in this case. Articulated mouth and hands, so the mouth is also articulated, so you could emote. And this one here is going to be $159, which is understandable, American. And this one's actually going to be released earlier. It's going to be September 1st, 2019. I find that interesting that they're releasing one beforehand compared to the other, considering they seem like they're comparable to each other. And of course, in the images, they're also showing off how you could pose Megatron ripping Jazz in half. So this was all clearly intended, but at the same time, quite an engineering feat. And that 2007 movie was when I already started to get shaky on my completism because there just was so much. I kind of really I threw in the towel at the end of Dark of the Moon, but I have almost every version of that design, whether it be the crappy Legend scale, fast action battler, and just none of them ever really did the job right because it had to deal with that backpack. It just didn't know what to do.
The Megatron you're talking about specifically.
Yeah, the Megatron, okay. Yeah. And it's so nice to have something finally that is the end all be all. And that's the thing too, is that I like it when we hit a point with Transformers when we feel we've pretty much made the best version of it and we could invest confidently without having to worry. Where, give an example like Jazz. If you were a Jazz collector for the 2007 movie, first you bought that first deluxe. Yeah. And you go, okay, you bought that first deluxe, fine. Then they did the premium one, which was that same deluxe but with the nicer paint on it. It was the more silvery paint, and you go, okay, maybe that's the better one, fine. Then you fast forward a little bit and then they do the Human Alliance and you go, okay, that's the better version of it.
Yep.
Okay, fine, I'm gonna get that.
I'm good now.
All right. I'm good now. I got the Human Alliance. Then they did the Studio series and you go, oh jeez, is that the better one now? It looks kind of tiny, but maybe that's the better one. So you get that one.
It's in scale, technically.
Yeah. So now I could honestly believe and be confident to say that this is definitely the best version of Jazz. And I could definitely say the same thing with the Megatron, because I don't know if they'll ever want to revisit this design again, but definitely I feel that they've done what they needed to do here and then some. Like, they didn't have to do the Allspark gimmick with the chest, but it exists. You know, they didn't have to do some of those other things, but they did, and so that's pretty cool, and I love that. Anything else you want to say about this before we move on?
I think the only downside I see with the Jazz, and no, it's not that he can cut in half, is the accessory for the spinal cord. I kind of feel it's a little bit weird, because if you look at Jazz, he doesn't have a tall torso, and then his bottom half is very small. But then when you look at the attachment on him for the spinal cord, it looks a bit weird. I guess like his spinal cord ripped out from his head, but then why is his head still there? How come there's no gimmick for his head to kind of go into his body? I don't know. Like, it just, the length of the spinal cord seems a bit long, like way too long.
It's like it would have to go into his leg or something.
Yeah, but I get you want to get it dramatic, and I guess it's supposed to kind of show like it's ripping out of him as well as his like kind of guts there. So that's why it's like you have the brown and you have the silverness of the actual spinal cord kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what's supposed to kind of represent, but for my taste, it seems like it's a little bit
that Mortal
too
Kombat
long, but I could be wrong.
That Mortal Kombat visual, you know, like that.
It's like that's not how long your spine is.
Yeah,
but
the classic Sub-Zero, you know, head rip off and the spine hanging kind of thing. I think they were just kind of trying to go for that visual. And the movie had that too, but of course it was very brief and not really that noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, CG, it doesn't really account for, like, you know, I guess we'll call it subspace in this case. So, but it's still
sometimes
cool.
it can. Sometimes it can. It's like they'll build a skeletal structure inside to see how everything moves, but it's a very minor nitpick. Like, this Jazz looks really good. It definitely looks like it's a definitive. The fact that the fingers are all articulated, and that was always a point of contention with a lot of Jazz toys.
Oh yeah, a lot
where
of
the fingers are just, you can't really do much with them. And the reason that we say that it's very different from the Human Alliance one is that I know with the Human Alliance mold, the front bumper, like the faceplate, like you could pull it out and turn it around, and now it seems like the front faceplate is like the grill, the mesh is attached to the bumper, and the things that move are the two headlights.
Yeah, it's articulated, the headlights to give a more defining feature.
So it seems like that's so, like, looking at that alone, it's like, okay, this is fairly very, very, very different from the Human Alliance one. I think it looks really good. I think both of them look really awesome, but I'm more biased towards the Jazz.
Oh, totally.
Obviously.
I understand that. And I guess the only other thing too is it looks like there is no interior car, but I mean, I don't care if that exists or not.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It looks cool for people that appreciate alt modes, like an Alternator's toy line, but at the same time, it could hurt a toy like a fast action, not a fast action battery, a Human Alliance, where then all of a sudden you have like, where are you going to put those seats? You're going to hang off the arms, you know, like, so you got to put them somewhere.
A nice side swipe.
There you go. Exactly. But yeah, these are awesome.